Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Listen Up Girl podcast, your go-to space for LGBTQ plus news, stories, and conversations that matter. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman, and today's episode is a mix of powerful visibility, ongoing challenges, and community resilience across the country. Let's get right into it with our first story is rural LGBTQ plus voices in Oregon. In Oregon, where a new initiative is trying to shine a light on something that's been overlooked for far too long, LGBTQ people living outside major cities. A statewide survey called Pride in Numbers is working to collect data from Two-Spirit and LGBTQ plus Oregonians with a focus on rural communities. Now here's why this matters. For years, LGBTQ plus data has been heavily centered on urban areas like Portland, but queer people have always lived in rural spaces. They've just been invisible in the data. This survey aims to change that. Participants are being asked about health, safety, community connections, and importantly, the survey is anonymous, and organizers have made it clear that the data will not be shared with government agencies or outside institutions. That level of privacy is key, especially for people living in smaller or more conservative communities. The goal here is bigger than just data collection. Leaders behind the project believe that better data can unlock funding, support grants, and ultimately improve resources for LGBTQ plus people across the state. One voice in the project, J.D. Herman, shared how LGBTQ plus residents east of the Cascades are often lumped together and underrepresented. And this story really hits home because 10 years ago, he didn't even want to move to the rural country. He saw himself in Portland, but today he says he can't imagine living anywhere else. He talked about needing nature, the woods, the lake, and the sense of grounding tied to family and heritage. The takeaway here is queer life doesn't just exist in cities, it thrives everywhere. We just haven't been measuring it. Next, hate crime at LGBTQ plus venue. Now, unfortunately, not all stories are good progress. In Gloucester, England, a group of teenagers reportedly threw eggs at patrons inside an LGBTQ plus venue and what police are investigating as a possible hate crime. The incident left people shaken and even caused damage to the property, including a laptop. The venue, called Proud, described the emotional toll on guests and staff. And sadly, they also announced that the venue has since closed, citing ongoing challenges in the hospitality industry. Now let's pause on that. That isn't just about eggs, it's about safety, it's about spaces. LGBTQ plus venues are more than bars or clubs. They're safe havens, and when those spaces are targeted, it sends ripple effect through the entire community. Even small acts of harassment can have huge emotional consequences. Now we go to LGBTQ plus gun owners creating safe spaces. Shifting to Ohio, where a different kind of community response is taking shape. In a barn in Lorain County, LGBTQ plus individuals are gathering not for a protest, not for a rally, but for firearm training. Why? Because many of them don't feel safe at traditional shooting ranges. So they created their own. Led by trans instructors, these sessions are focused on safety, education, and empowerment. For many participants, this is their first time handling a firearm, and they're doing it in an environment where they feel seen, respected, and safe. One organizer shared that the recent waves of anti-LGBT legislation influenced their decision to create these classes. And whether you agree with gun ownership or not, the bigger story here is about agency. When systems don't feel safe, communities build their own. Before I continue with the news, I wanted to tell you, I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can actually see it. And for the longest time, my wireless bill felt like it had a life of its own. Random free perks that weren't actually free, and monthly total that just kept creeping up. So I finally said enough is enough, and I switched to Mint Mobile. And honestly, I wish I did it sooner. What I love is how simple it is. Mint Mobile is built to fix everything that's wrong with big wireless. Plans start at just $15 a month, and you still get high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and all on the nation's largest 5G network. You're not locked into some long-term contract. You can even keep your phone number, and activate with eSIM in just a few minutes. And from my experience, the service has been just as reliable as my old carrier, except now I'm paying way less, like significantly less. It's one of those rare situations where you downgrade your bill, but not your service. I use this and you should too. You should check out Mint Mobile. Make sure to switch at mintmobile.com/listenup. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/listenup. That's mintmobile.com/listenup. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for just 3 months only, then full price options available. Tax and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And back to the news. Honoring LGBTQ plus allies. At Human Rights Campaign's gala in Los Angeles, Rob and Michele Reiner were honored for their contributions to marriage equality. They were described as superheroes in the fight for LGBTQ rights, especially during the battle against California's Proposition 8. Their work helped lay the foundation for one of the biggest victories in modern LGBTQ plus history, the right to marry. And moments like this are important reminders. Progress didn't happen overnight. It happens because people show up, fight, and don't stop. Next, in Delaware expands LGBTQ plus commission. In Delaware, Governor Matt Meyer has expanded the state's LGBTQ plus commission from 9 to 15 members. This move is aimed at better representing the diversity of the LGBTQ plus community across the state. The commission advises lawmakers on issues affecting LGBTQ plus people, meaning this expansion could directly influence policy and protections. Representation matters, especially at the policy level. And next, pride flag ban in Utah. A look at policy shifts. Utah has officially become the first state to prohibit LGBTQ plus pride flags in schools and government buildings. The law bans unsanctioned flags display, which include pride flags. Supporters say it's about neutrality. Critics say it's about erasure. And this is part of a broader national conversation about visibility and who gets to be seen in public spaces. And we can't end this news without our last story. No Kings protests sweep the nation. Mass protests erupted across the U.S. and beyond as millions gathered under the banner No Kings to push back against President Trump's policies. Demonstrators rallied in over 3,300 locations across all 50 states, with organizers estimating up to 8 million participants, though some numbers are still being verified. Protesters called the issues like immigration crackdowns, threats to voting rights, the war in Iran, and broader concerns about democracy. One of the biggest moments came in Minnesota, where Bruce Springsteen performed at the rally, debuting a protest song that and telling the crowd they picked the wrong city. In Washington, D.C., demonstrators gathered near where the White House official, Stephen Miller, has been staying, chanting for change. Across the country, from major cities to small towns, people marched, waved flags, and demanded action. Notably, organizers say the moment is intentionally broad, without a single demand, instead of reflecting growing frustration across multiple issues. The White House dismissed the protests, calling the Trump derangement therapy sessions, but with millions showing up, one thing is clear: this is a movement fueled by momentum, and it is not slowing down. So that's today's stories. Really highlight the full spectrum of where we are right now as a community. We're seeing more visibility and data collection, grassroots empowerment, continued recognition of allies, and yes, ongoing resistance and challenges. But if there's one thing that stands out, it's this: LGBTQ plus communities are not waiting to be recognized. They're building, organizing, and showing up everywhere. From rural Oregon to Barnes in Ohio to policy rooms in Delaware, we are everywhere, and we're not going anywhere. Thanks so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you, be sure to share it with a friend or two, and make sure to follow and comment. Thanks so much, and I will be back later with more LGBTQ plus news. Thanks for listening.